some extent, is Arsenal versus PSG in the final?
It is. It is.
Yeah, but he
I know he's not
he played with so many teams that at one point it can be any team in the final.
That's true. That's true.
What do you think?
It's a big game.
No, look. By the way, on the night, the best team won, even from Paris, and so they went about it a different way today. Like what you saw last Tuesday is two teams that were trying to win a game, and I was trying to say that before you arrived, that we saw tonight a team that didn't want to lose a tie anymore.
Yes.
The way they went about it, Paris Saint-Germain, and what Luis Enrique offered, because you have Nuno Mendes taking a yellow card early doors into the game. You have to defend on Michael Olise. You don't have Hakimi. So suddenly, how are you going to defend and how are you going to come out? So what did they do? You will see it. We don't want to talk about it. Nuno Mendes stayed. They built in the free. Warren Zaire-Emery, now on the ball and off the ball, was giving them the overload inside. And what Luis Enrique offered there, staying in a 3v3 at the back with Bayern Munich. Yes, he was brave a different way. It wasn't so much about total football, but he was brave with the way he went about it, with the shape of the team. And he got his reward.
Were you hopeful for more from Bayern?
I always felt PSG were a level above Bayern in the first game. I was almost surprised how well Bayern played in the first game. Yeah, but let's not forget, at one stage it was 5-2.
Yeah.
To PSG. So I think they probably shot themselves in the foot a little bit. But when you look at the middle of midfield, and obviously, David, you know that position better than any of us. I mean, when you look at the team in that Neves in there, I mean, I went back a few years and it almost reminds me a little bit of that Barcelona midfield.
Yeah.
That's how, the real quality in there, isn't it?
I mean, they controlled the midfield, as simple as that. And when you control the midfield, then it's, it's, when you said, did you expect more from Bayern? PSG just controlled the game. It's like what Thierry just said. They controlled the game. It was a team that didn't want to lose the tie. And that's how they played. And I think when you control certain parts of the pitch, it's hard to break through.
In terms of the final now, how do you expect Arsenal to play PSG?
Thierry?
Hey, listen, I woke up with a smile this morning. I said it, 20 years for us to go in our only second final. And then being in a situation to compete for the league, and it looks like we might. Again, I'll stay in my lane. But, it's 22 years in the league, 20 years to go back in the final. I woke up with a smile. I don't know. I would like to think, although we still didn't lose in Europe, we didn't concede a lot of goals. That counts for something. But Paris Saint-Germain will have the experience, obviously, of knowing what it is to win it. And when you cross that line, you don't have the fear of winning anymore. Sometimes the fear of winning, I always say, is bigger than the fear of losing. So hopefully we're going to go there, be brave, but we have to beat and battle against the champions. And that won't be easy. We know that.
Are you nervous?
I think, I'm usually okay, but I think I will be nervous in that final. Yes, I will be, because they're about to do something that I couldn't do myself. And because I'm an Arsenal fan, that's all you want. You want your team to win. I want to experience it. I didn't experience it as a player. The second thing I can experience it as is a fan. So hopefully it's gonna happen. But when you see the way Paris Saint-Germain played tonight, they can kill you in both styles. They can kill you on the ball, scoring more goals than you, and they can also neutralize you. And obviously it was 1-1 because Harry Kane scored. They can also beat you like that, although they didn't win on the game, but you understand what I'm saying. So they have everything that they need to have, but we've been pretty resilient, difficult to score against. We don't over-create, but when we do create, we end up putting the ball in the back of the net. So different style, if you can say. Let's see who's going to win that one.
How proud was you seeing the fans the way they were in that stadium last night?
Listen, I never saw the Emirates like that, or I didn't see Highbury like that in Europe. We have to be honest, and we all know you guys played in some big stadium that sometimes, as we call it, in front of the 12th man, which is the crowd, will bring you places in Europe. But I have to say, when, and I'm sure it's the same way, I was happy for the Arsenal nation. I was happy for Mikel Arteta. I was happy for Bukayo Saka. I tried to make him talk yesterday, be emotional, but he went back into the seriousness. If you play, you're on the field, you're not going to start to talk about your struggle and everything, which I understand. I would have done the same thing, but because I'm here, I wanted to make people understand that it's not easy to be there. And I wanted to be there. Obviously, I had a job to do, but who was there? My kids. And for a very long time, those guys were looking at me and said, why did you do that to us, to support Arsenal? why that? And I'm like, what do you mean, why that? You got to support your team. And for the first time yesterday, when I waited for them at breakfast, they came and they had the bigger smile than me. So
amazing.
I was like, you see, it can happen. Okay, we waited a long time. By the way, nothing still happened.
Right. Yeah.
Understand me well. Let's not, get too carried away. We are in the final. I'm over the moon about that. But then you don't want to lose the final, because I still have it here. I still have nightmares about it. And so I'm sure you guys remember final that you lost. It's not easy to digest overall. But look, it looks like we are okay at the minute. Let's see what we're going to do against West Ham. But to see the joy on the face of my kids was priceless.
Very cool. Love that. David, the next time we're going to see you is Budapest.
Yep.
Fisher, we hope next season or whenever. You know, you're always welcome. You're just always welcome.
But Jamie
we love you.
Jamie did after the game, the first leg, you would say, I think Bayern has a bit of an advantage, right? I remember, or no?
No, that was probably Micah.
That was Micah. Sorry, that was Micah.
If you don't blame me.
Yeah, it was Micah's fault. That's right. Sorry, it was Micah's
We've got to get Beckham off game.
Yes, we do.
Why is that team over there going crazy?
Oh, no, but can somebody take a picture?
Yeah, I'll take a picture. Hold on.
Thanks.
Let me take a picture.
Anyway, thanks.
We'll get a picture of you and TT for the wife. Come on.
Yeah.
So no, let me get up.
Oh, sorry.
Great.
Where are we doing it?
Yeah, great.
Yes. Jamie, you take us to break whilst I'm doing this. Hold on, I want the chair out.
All right, thank you.
Here we
We're
go.
just doing this on air now?
Oh, there's no
Very under pressure considering it's
Make
wait a
sure you
second.
join us after the break. It can't be better than what we've just had right now, because Mr. Beckham's
Cheese.
leaving.
Yes.
This legend on our right is leaving as well, but it'll just
Thank
be
you.
Big Meeks is back. So make sure you come back. We'll have interviews from a great game. Big Uncle Pete will be back as well. Don't go anywhere.
Find you, man. It was a training ground move. It was a pattern of play that they've obviously worked on against that high press. Phenomenal goal.
How difficult for Bayern to deal with that it happened 3 minutes into the game?
The problem is just the quality of the players lower. The guys are too good, and you can't. Everybody wants to press, which is fine. But I think Luis Enrique said, guys, when they're pressing, don't hold on to the ball. If you take a touch, we're going to turn it over. So what happens? Set it, play it first time, and play them behind, because they're going to come. We know they're coming. They came in the first second. They came here. If you play first time and you set it, and you spin the spaces in behind, he did it brilliant. It's great coaching. It's great. I just think they adapted the way they played from the first leg. They weren't so open in transitions. Today they defended a little bit deeper and hit Bayern on the counter.
Stevie, Fabian Ruiz was out for a number of months with an injury. He's been back for about 5 or 6 games, played in this game tonight. How key is he going to be in midfield against Arsenal?
He looked like he'd never been away. His experience, his quality, his class, it was a phenomenal performance. You could see him gas out a little bit at the end. But you know what he done? What was really impressive tonight, and it came from the manager. You could see the instruction come from Luis Enrique. Nuno Mendes got a yellow card early on, and Elise was giving him a few problems early on in the game, and he just told him to sit and protect and help Nuno Mendes, and he'd done it with so much experience and class. He was there all the time. He makes this team tick. I think he's one of the older heads, one of the leaders in the dressing room and the team. For him to not play so many minutes of late and come in and put that level of performance in, it just shows his importance to the team and Spain going into the World Cup. For me, he has to be in the team somehow in the final. I'm not sure whether he will be, because Hakimi will come back in. So the manager's got a really difficult decision whether it's Zaire Emre who plays or whether it's Fabian Ruiz. I personally would go with Fabian Ruiz.
Do you know what, I think that's a great point, Stevie, because Zaire Emery, I think he's had the most starts, played the most minutes of any PSG player. But actually, if you think about the size of Arsenal and set pieces and the dominance that they have there, you could see Ruiz playing. He's a brilliant ball player and he's so calm, he's experienced. But actually, his size gives them something that they'll desperately need, I think, on set pieces.
One of the first names on the team sheet is probably going to be Kvaratskhelia. We've been waiting all night just to have a little look at what he was doing this evening. It doesn't matter what occasion it is, he just seems to produce.
We've got a 22-minute run of Kvaratskhelia from today. I mean, how good is this guy? Running forward, he's got power. Look at him get his head up. Quality of the pass, but every time he touched the ball, he was positive running forward. And Stevie, I can't remember, he rarely ever wastes the ball, does he? He plays with risk, but he doesn't waste the ball. It's remarkable.
He just never turns it over. I mean, the job he does for his team out of possession, you've got to give him a special mention for that, because he grafts, he works, he fights. But when he's got the ball at his feet, the game just changes. He lights the game up. He can go both ways. His control, his balance. He's so aggressive. But there's always an outcome. He's never wasteful. This would have put the icing on the cake. It would have been a man of the match performance. I think I would have given it to Pacho, over the game. But if he'd have scored that goal, he probably would have got my man of the match.
Do you know what I like about him as well? he doesn't really do tricks. Everything's very functional, isn't it? The chops, he changes direction, and then he uses that change in direction. But it's not silly tricks just for nothing. It always has a function, and it's exceptional to see. Great example for young players.
Yeah, because we don't get to appreciate the art of dribbling that much in today's games. And like you were saying, he almost makes something happen out of seemingly nothing.
There's a lot of dribblers that dribble for the sake of dribbling. But for me, if you're going to dribble, there's got to be an outcome. What are you going to do? Is it going to be a cross? Is it going to be a shot? Is it going to be a bit of combination play? But if you're an attacking player, you've got to be watching these four wingers that were on the pitch tonight. He was the best out of the four. But if you think of Doué, some of the runs and bursts from inside his own box, this is a 19-year-old kid. So powerful, so dynamic. They've got energy, they've got quality. You could speak about them all night, and that's without mentioning Diaz and Elise.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a winger, a young winger, or you've got ambitions or dreams of being a top elite winger, watch these four tonight. It was absolutely frightening.
We asked the question before the game kicked off about this balance between control or chaos and what we would get. And Luis Enrique went a little bit more for control today, and it paid off for him.
But I think that's how you win the Champions League. You don't win it with, getting mad open and kind of. You have to defend your box well. And I think when you have Stevie made a good point before the game. You've got a goal advantage. They can afford to play a little bit deeper. Everybody's behind the ball. For these brilliant attacking players, every one of these players is a 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 million pound player, but they put a shift in for the team. Everybody defended when they needed to. And you know what? There was no space. No matter how good you are, whether you're Diaz or Kane or Elise, if there's no space, you can't find anything. They couldn't manufacture anything because it wasn't there. And that was only because, Stevie, how disciplined PSG were as a group.
Yeah, and it comes from the side. I think you said it on the top of the programme. The respect that these players have got for Luis Enrique, they believe in him. They've got a leader. They want to follow his instructions, his game plan and his tactics. And over the two legs, he's got it spot on. You'd have to say that, because he's gone toe-to-toe with Bayern Munich in the first game, and he's gone for the shootout, and he's won that by scoring the extra goal. And what he's done over the course of the 8 days that have followed, he's realised that he's going to have to control the game in a different way. And they've controlled it from a defensive point of view by grit, by determination. I mean, that image sums up PSG. They celebrated the hard work and the tackles and the last-ditch stuff like it was a goal.
How good is that?
And that's the sign of a team.
How good is that? A Ballon d'Or winner celebrating a tackle.
Yeah.
And Kvaratskhelia, obviously.
Owen, isn't it?
Yeah. They're a proper team. But you know what I like? I like the fact they've adapted from.
What if the greatest night in Arsenal's modern history is now just 3 weeks away? What if everything, the pain, the near misses, the heartbreak, was building to one single moment in Budapest? Two of football's most iconic legends have delivered their verdicts on the Arsenal versus PSG Champions League final, and what Thierry Henry and Steven Gerrard had to say will send chills down the spine of every Gooner on the planet. Buckle up. This one is different. Hello, Gooners. Welcome to Arsenal Quick News, your go-to spot for the latest Arsenal FC updates. Can you believe where we are right now? Arsenal are in the Champions League, final bidding to lift the European Cup for the first time in the club's history on May 30th at the Puskás Arena in Budapest. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button immediately and join the fastest growing Arsenal community on YouTube, because this is exactly where history gets broken down. Now, hand on heart, Gooners, do you genuinely believe this squad is ready to become European champions? Thierry Henry World Cup winner, Champions League winner with Barcelona, and Arsenal's all-time leading scorer with 228 goals, was in the television studio alongside Steven Gerrard, who has been a key TNT Sports pundit since leaving Al Ettifaq in January 2025, analyzing PSG's dramatic semi-final elimination of Bayern Munich. When the conversation turned to the Budapest final, both men delivered passionate, deeply personal, and analytically sharp assessments that every Arsenal supporter needs to hear right now. Henry was visibly emotional. He revealed he woke up with the biggest smile on his face the morning after Arsenal's semi-final victory over Atletico Madrid. He spoke about the weight of this moment, not just for the club, but for his own family. His children, he admitted, had questioned for years why they had to endure supporting Arsenal. Why the wait? Why the disappointment? And then, when Arsenal secured their place in the Budapest final, they came to breakfast wearing the widest smiles he had ever seen on their faces. That image, Henry said, was priceless, and it tells you everything about what this moment means beyond the football. Gerrard, meanwhile, delivered a tactical warning that Arteta's coaching staff should take very seriously. He identified Fabian Ruiz as the single most important figure Arsenal must neutralize in Budapest. The Spanish midfielder had missed several months through injury before returning to produce a commanding display against Bayern Munich, controlling tempo, protecting the defensive shape, and dictating transitions with effortless composure. Gerrard's verdict was unequivocal. Ruiz must start the final. His reading of the game, his aerial presence, and his ability to manage high-pressure moments make him the heartbeat of Luis Enrique's entire system. The scale of what Arsenal have achieved to reach this point is genuinely historic and deserves to be celebrated loudly. Arsenal became the first team in Champions League history to win all 8 matches in the league phase. Read that again. Not the first English club, the first team in the entire history of the competition. They then defeated Bayer Leverkusen, Sporting CP, and Atletico Madrid in successive knockout rounds. Arsenal remain unbeaten across 14 Champions League matches this season, recording 11 wins and 3 draws. Impenetrable. Bukayo Saka, still only 24, recently surpassed 150 goal involvements for the club, 80 goals and 70 assists, and became the first Englishman to score in Champions League semifinals in 2 consecutive seasons. That is not a coincidence. That is the product of extraordinary talent meeting extraordinary preparation. Henry called him out specifically during the broadcast, praising his professionalism and emotional maturity throughout this campaign. And then there is the man Henry described as the missing piece, Victor Gyökeres, who has brought pace and clinical finishing to unlock space around him all season. The Swedish striker has recorded 14 Premier League goals in the 2025-26 season, and his physical presence could be Arsenal's greatest weapon on set pieces against a PSG side that Gerrard himself identified as potentially vulnerable aerially. Henry knows the agony of a Champions League final more than most. The 2006 final against Barcelona in Paris ended in defeat, with Jens Lehmann's controversial red card in the 17th minute effectively ending Arsenal's night before it had properly begun. That gap, 2 decades, represents the longest wait between European Cup finals for any English side since Liverpool in 2005. The scar is real, and Henry admitted it plainly. He still has nightmares about losing finals. That psychological truth is something Arteta must address in Budapest. PSG, meanwhile, are the reigning champions, chasing back-to-back titles and aiming to become only the second club in Champions League history to defend the trophy after Real Madrid's remarkable treble between 2016 and 2018. This is not a team that arrives in Budapest with anything to prove. They arrive with everything to defend. And that experience of knowing what it takes to win it, of crossing that line without fear, is precisely what Henry acknowledged as Arsenal's greatest psychological challenge. The fear of winning, he said, is sometimes greater than the fear of losing. Here is what makes this final genuinely special and why Gunners have every reason to believe. PSG are extraordinary, fluid, explosive, capable of winning in multiple ways. But this Arsenal squad has conceded on average just 1 goal every 2 games throughout the entire Champions League campaign, and 12 different outfield players have contributed to their goal tally. That is not defensive football masquerading as attacking intent. That is a complete, balanced, relentless team. The unique insight here, and it is one both Henry and Gerrard touched on without quite stating outright, is that Arsenal's strength is precisely their lack of a single identifiable weakness. PSG's scouting analysts will struggle to find one clear defensive vulnerability to target, one primary creator to nullify, one pattern to disrupt. Arteta has built something rare, a squad that collectively outperforms the sum of its individual parts. And on May 30th, in Budapest, with 67,000 fans inside the Puskás Arena and millions watching across the world, that collective strength could be the difference. Henry said it beautifully. He wants to experience what he never could as a player. He wants to feel it as a fan. And after 20 years of waiting, every single Gunner on the planet feels exactly the same way. 20 years, 1 final, 1 chance to write the greatest chapter in Arsenal's history. Are you confident Arteta's side can go all the way in Budapest on May 30th? Drop your prediction in the comments. I want to read every single one of them. If you are not subscribed yet, hit that button and ring the notification bell right now, because Arsenal Quick News will be with you every step of the way to Budapest and beyond. Come on, you Gunners. The wait ends this month.